Welcome to Econ with Wes. In this video, I am going to introduce you to the concept of price elasticity of demand. What is price elasticity of demand? Let's have a look at the definition first, okay? So price elasticity of demand measures, that should be an S in there, measures the responsiveness of quantity demanded to a change in price, okay? So if the price of a product changes, and that could either be an increase or a decrease, price can either increase or decrease, PED, price elasticity of demand, measures how responsive demand is to a change in price. How responsive are households and consumers? How do they react to a change in price of the product? The formula for PED is the percentage change in quantity demanded over the percentage change in price, okay? Remember, the triangle is the delta sign for a change. So it's the percentage change in quantity demanded over the percentage change in price. Now, students often, if they make a mistake in the exam with the formula, it's that they get these two, the quantity demanded and the price, the wrong way round. Now, the way I remember it is that it is the Q, the queen above the people. Okay, think about the hierarchy there, the queen above the people. We also need to know the formula for percentage change. We need to know how to calculate the percentage change, okay? So the percentage change is the difference between the two numbers, the difference between the old and the new, and then you divide that by the original number, the difference divided by the original, and we multiply that by 100. Okay, that's the percentage change formula. Okay, now the answer to PED would always be a minus. Okay, and let's look at why that is. Okay, so to explain that, I'm just going to draw the demand curve here. Okay, so price and quantity. Okay, so if the price actually increased, okay, if the price increased, this is the law of demand, the quantity demanded decreases. Okay, so remember, the quantity demanded would decrease, so therefore we would have a decrease in the quantity demanded but an increase in price. Okay, so we have a positive, we have a negative that we need to divide by a positive, and that will give us a negative. Now, if the price decreases to P2, okay, we have a decrease in price, and that would lead to an increase in the quantity demanded, okay? So there will be an increase in the quantity demanded and a decrease in price. So we have a positive number, and we're going to divide the positive by a negative, and again that will give us a negative number. Now let's look at the numerical values, okay? So if the answer, now when it comes to the numerical values, we ignore the minus, but in the exam we don't, okay? So we're only going to ignore the minus when we're trying to determine the numerical value and try to interpret what that actually means. But in the exam, if the answer is a -5, then you write down -5, okay? If it's a multiple choice question and you might have 4 options, then if the question is about price elasticity of demand, then you've got to look out for a minus number, okay? So if this was the options available, then there's only one minus number there. So this one must be the price elasticity of demand because it is a minus number, okay? Now let's have a look at the numerical values then. So if the answer is equal to infinity, okay, that's not drawn very well. If the answer is, it's not much better, but if the answer is equal to infinity, then the product will be perfectly elastic. If the product is equal to a number that is greater than 1, then the answer will, then the elasticity of the product will be relatively elastic. If the answer is equal to 1, then it would be unitary or unit elastic. If the answer is equal to less than 1, then the product will be relatively inelastic or inelastic. And then if the answer is equal to 0, then it will be perfectly inelastic. Okay, now, so for an example then, if the answer in the exam, if you were asked to calculate the price elasticity of demand and the answer is equal to -5, we're going to ignore the minus, so it's a 5, and 5 is greater than 1, so therefore the product will be elastic. Okay, but if the answer to the question in the exam is -0.25, okay, again, we ignore the minus, it's 0.25. 0.25 is less than 1, therefore the products will be inelastic, okay? Now, perfectly elastic and perfectly inelastic, there's no real life examples of products that are perfectly elastic or perfectly inelastic. It's just theoretical, it's just theory based. Let's have a look at the diagrams, okay? If the product is if the answer is infinity, perfectly elastic, price quantity, we will have a vertical demand curve, a horizontal demand curve, and we would label that D, okay? This is if the product is perfectly elastic, okay? If the product is perfectly inelastic, then the demand curve will be perfectly vertical, and we label that D for demand, price, quantity, okay? Remember, these are theoretical and there's no real life examples of products that are perfectly elastic or perfectly inelastic. If the product is unit elastic or unitary, then we would draw a 45-degree demand curve. And basically, we just label that P1 and Q1. Let's say there's been an increase in price from P1 to P2. And we label this Q2, okay? If that line, if the demand curve was at 45 degrees, then the percentage change in quantity demanded will be equal to the percentage change in price, okay? So if the product is equals to -1, okay, therefore the product is going to be unit elastic or unitary. That means that the percentage change in quantity demanded is equal to the percentage change in price. Okay, so now let's have a look let's now have a look at a elastic and inelastic demand curve. Elastic and inelastic, okay? Okay, so we label the axes P and Q. Now for the elastic demand curve, imagine we've got our 45-degree line, okay, but we're actually going to draw the top of the curve to the left-hand side, and we're going to draw it like this, okay? So an elastic demand curve will look like that. That's demand. And an inelastic demand curve, P, Q, imagine our 45-degree line, and then we're going to draw the top of the demand curve to the right-hand side of the 45-degree line. So it will look like this. That is our inelastic demand curve. Now, if the price was at P and the quantity was at Q, and there was an increase in price from P to P1, and then a decrease in the quantity demanded, we can see here that the percentage change in quantity demanded is a lot greater than the percentage change in price. The quantity demanded here has reacted greatly to the change in price. Okay, it has been very responsive to the change in price. Now the price was to decrease, we go across, hit the demand curve, go down. Q2, again, we can see that the quantity demanded has been very responsive compared to the change in price. So if a product is elastic, the percentage change in quantity demanded will be greater than the percentage change in price. Now let's have a look at the inelastic demand curve. So P and Q, let's say the product goes up in price from P to P1, go across, hit the demand curve, go down, and Q1. Now this time we can see that there has been a change in price, but the quantity demanded hasn't reacted much. We can see here that the percentage change in quantity demanded is less than the percentage change in price. And if the price decreases to P2, we go across, hit the demand curve, go down. Q2, again, we can see here that the quantity demanded hasn't changed much in comparison to the percentage change in price. Okay, so the demand has gone down, but not by much. It's not very responsive. So elastic, we're looking at products where the demand is very responsive, whereas inelastic, the demand is not very responsive to a change in price. Okay. And again, for inelastic, sorry, the percentage change in quantity demanded will be less than the percentage change in price. I hope you enjoyed that video on price elasticity of demand. Please like and subscribe to this channel. Look out for future videos and thank you very much for watching.